Chapter 31. Are you angry, damn old hag? You've got some nerve. The woman was shocked by the audacity of the older lady and couldn't help but curse aloud. She yanked her backpack, causing the older lady to stumble and nearly fall. The backpack's strap slipped off, and its contents spilled all over the ground. Various makeup items, food, and clothes meant for a young girl were scattered around. It was clear that these weren't things the older lady would use. Oh my, these things are for young girls, right? It seems like someone's been carrying a girl's backpack, the older lady remarked. Auntie, even if times are tough, you shouldn't steal from others, the woman scolded. That's right. The world is getting worse. The crowd turned against the innocent woman and vehemently accused the older lady, disregarding her pleas for understanding. However, the woman didn't show any gratitude. After all, they hadn't been so critical of her before. Being exposed, the older lady became flustered, but she quickly regained her composure and snapped, "What are you all staring at? I just grabbed the wrong bag. You all are so boring, just go outside and enjoy the sun. You waste your days gossiping and criticizing others. How can you talk like this? We were even defending you earlier. You're heartless." The older lady, relying on her age, retorted, "You call that defending me? You were just pointing fingers at me, trying to appear noble and satisfy your vanity. Don't act like you're all righteous, you're just swaying with the wind. I've lived for decades and experienced more than you have. Get lost, stop being a bother." The older lady cursed as she advanced toward the people, who quickly retreated while still expressing their displeasure. Who is this person? No sense of shame. So shameless. The crowd dispersed eventually, and the woman picked up her belongings, casting a disdainful look at the older lady before returning to her spot. The older lady gathered her things, moved to another spot, and those around her instinctively gave her a wide berth. She sat down in a corner, chuckling scornfully. Watching the scene unfold, Zhang Ran shook her head. When there are many people, conflicts easily arise, and various thoughts will naturally emerge. This was just the beginning. As resources like food and water grew scarcer, covert theft would escalate into brazen plunder. At this moment, Guansong returned from the restroom, frowning. "There's no water in the restroom, this isn't a sustainable situation." "No water?" Ji Qinglan was surprised for a moment. "Then how am I supposed to, you know?" The group exchanged looks. Ji Qinglan explained with a touch of frustration, "Before, we could dig a hole in the ground in rural areas, use it, and then bury it. But we're in the city now, and there are so many people around. Where can I dig a hole?" Ji Qinglan's words made the atmosphere awkward once again. Zhang Ran didn't find it strange at all. After all, basic bodily functions were a priority in a post-apocalyptic scenario. She chuckled and suggested, "How about finding a green area outside and digging a hole there? Let Guan and your brother keep watch." "But that's so embarrassing." Ji Qinglan blushed and hesitated before adding, "Can we go now? I really need to go." Ji Qingcheng grinned and clenched his fist, while Guansong shook his head with a smile. The two teenage boys found amusement in this situation. "All right, let's go." Guansong agreed, understanding that they were a team and had to tackle such issues together. Ji Qinglan turned to her brother, "You can come with me. Guan, you stay and protect the two sisters." Ji Qingcheng nodded repeatedly, "I'll go with her." "Song, you stay and protect the two sisters. We'll be right back." The trio settled in place. Though they were indoors and not directly under the sun, the temperature wasn't low, and any movement would make them sweat. Two soldiers guarded the exit on the ground floor. Someone approached and inquired, "Hey, How will the authorities arrange things for us? The soldier glanced at the person and replied, "We'll have to wait for instructions from higher ups. Our current responsibility is to ensure your safety." Another person appeared dissatisfied, interrupting, "We can't just stay here indefinitely. There's no water in the restroom, and our supplies are running low. We need to find a way to get water." The soldier repeated, "Arrangements will be made from above. Please be patient." Both individuals were frustrated, but seeing the guns on the soldiers' belts, they suppressed their anger and returned to their spots, spreading their negative emotions to others. Zhang Ran stood up and walked around the lobby, but the low ceiling prevented her from seeing much. She headed to the staircase, intending to ascend to the 5th floor, where there were fewer people. Soldiers on each floor didn't stop her from moving between levels. Zhang Ran easily reached the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor was filled with people who had been placed there the previous night. The 3rd and 4th floors were the same. The 5th floor was the most recently occupied, and there weren't many people. Many were lying on the ground, asleep. Zhang Ran looked around and gazed through the convention center's glass exterior. About 30 meters away, a tall steel wall stood, 3 or 4 stories high, extending out of sight. It was early morning, just past 5 o'clock, and the sky was beginning to brighten. The upper floors within the wall were illuminated by colorful lights, as if a party were taking place. They hadn't entered the safe zone. This discovery surprised Zhang Ran and filled her with a sense of indignation. They had endured hardships to reach this place, seeking the protection of the authorities. Yet, they were placed outside, unable to even enter the safe zone, while people inside enjoyed themselves. In her past life, Zhang Ran had been an ordinary person from a distant town. She hadn't visited the provincial capital, so she had no first-hand knowledge of it. She had only heard from other ability users who had been there that the city conditions were excellent, just like before the apocalypse. Many wealthy people had stockpiled food, weapons, and essential machinery in advance. Utilities in the safe zone, such as water and electricity, were ample but came at a steep price. Most people had to ration them carefully. Even in the apocalypse, the well-stocked provincial capital remained the most prosperous place. The power structure remained largely unchanged, with the privileged few still holding sway. "Are you angry?" Suddenly, a somewhat mocking voice came from behind. Zhang Ran turned to see a middle-aged man in his 40s, dressed neatly in a suit. He walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the opposite wall, and muttered, "We supported these people before the apocalypse, and now we're abandoned like roadside weeds. If the main forces hadn't approached the wall, they probably wouldn't have reacted." This speech had a touch of a cult's incitement. Who was this person frowning? Zhang Ran asked. "So what? I'm just an ordinary person. I can't dodge bullets, wield knives, or run as fast as lightning. I can't even beat the soldiers outside. Besides struggling to survive, do I have other options?"